Um, Now, this is the headliner on this would be logic, pure living light, logic, log, Log, logic, Occam's razor, eliminating all the potential variables in order to reduce it. Inductors, right? Induction, infusion, right? Cold infusion and hot fission, the compression and the expansion of breath, the eternal living spirit of fire. So I was reminded a number of years ago, because I was studying film. Eternal light is exposing the biofilm, the biostrip, just like 77 Sunset Strip. Remember that show? Ever been up to Sunset Strip? Places back in the 60s. One was called the Whiskey and the Roxy Theater. Mulholland Drive, Wonderland, U.S. Air Force. Jim Morrison, The Doors of Perception. Come on, baby, light my fire. Crystal Shep. I know. And so one of the child actresses, I cannot remember her name. I think it started with Brooke something. Brooke. Long brown hair. She was a child actress, and then she became an adult actress, or she simply just continued acting. Act, AC, ACT, right? Alternating currents, acting, act in. Now we're back to archetypes, personality types, and the eternal spirit of fire. So I happened to watch, I visualized a post that her hypertext, which is simply the visual arrangement of fire letters associated with the name, which is the identity that you hold in memory of having experienced her as a child in movies, motion pictures, the motion picture industry, right? Industries, age industries. So you had the war machine industries, industrial technology, right? Biotechnology. So she mentioned you cannot clone a spirit. It's like, do you think? The spirit and the energy? Can you clone the energy? Clone, right? Now we're into duplicates. Now we're into carbon tax credits, carbon copies. Now we're into silicate, right? Silicon Valley, silicon, and crystal, crystal spiral, atom seed, the eternal spiral. So you realize that a finite dead light magnet cannot clone the eternal spirit of fire. And the reason is quite simple, and that's called flash sequences, which is the speed at which the light is always on, the light is never off. So now you're into the torque speed differential, displacement in H2O, water worlds, hydrogen, between two poles, two magnetic poles. Now we're back to the polarity of ions, neuro-ion messengers. Messaging services like in email services, energy mail, of consciousness, experiencing the consciousness by virtue of the transmission fluid electromagnetic dynamics of dynamically linked circulation libraries of biovoltage experiences, right? And so Aaron knocked on my door a little bit ago. He said he needed some myrrh, and I figure most of you all know what myrrh is, right? Because apparently Kaika's got a bad toothache, and he had some Q-tips, and we put some little myrrh on there to put on there. And yeah, myrrh is another wonderful plant, wonder medicine. You got to know Mama. If you know Mama's history and what we know about Mama, she is a healing goddess, which is healing arts, which is the art of communication in spirit, right? So you know the most powerful spirit is the eternal spirit of fire, which purifies the light, which is the purity of that love, right? Now we're back to I am what you are what I am. Because everything exists within eternity, between time and no time, or if you will, density and no density, dimensions and no dimensions, right? So you need time to create something that is experiencing time because of the speed differential between pre-phase, right, eternal sun consciousness, experiencing eternity, and then experiencing something that takes a little fraction of more time to experience it in the mirror, the visuals, because of the time density delay between speed ratio harmonics between densities, to experience equilibrium states between densities and dimensions, so that we're all experiencing perfect geometrical alignment of sound and light structure. The structure of sound and light visualization. Wow, that's perfect. The dimensions, the folding of time and space, hyperfolding time and space. Look at what the sound and the light generated I'm experiencing in my mirror as a map. Whoa, map readers. Map reading virtual worlds. Map reading eternal worlds. Eternal creation sphere worlds. Atoms spheres. Now we're into seed production, right? The original seed. So why is that important? Because whose seed do you think a girl would want to mate with? Right? What if a girl mates with a mated chip? A mated chip, a single pole, a monad? Would you rather mate with the eternal spirit of fire, or a seed that represents the daemon seed? Daemon, right? So now you get into the forced breeding of what we used to call bad seed. Because now you take on codes and frequencies and how all the mutagenic genetic engineering codes, right, that now prevent us from experiencing the one, because the waves are distorted, which means that the sound and light burn patterns. That means that the dimension, the way that the math works with geometry, is structure that is not perfect. When it's perfect, you are experiencing the law of least effort, which means you're experiencing being a torque converter running the highest acceleration of electrons as a hub server. When more units of consciousness are experiencing what love is, that come together as a formation of consciousness, then they are experiencing eternity, which is the eternal spirit of fire, from which those accretion levels that are experiencing eternal unconditional love becomes a large multiverse. A multiverse, like the verse of music, right? Of dance and song. So the spirit is dancing in the radio. Raw, DIOIOS, an operating system. Yeah. So the software works perfectly because the codes are perfectly matched pairs of ions. Negative and positive ions are perfectly matched to now experience the visuals. The perfection of that math. That means that eternal energy is what is running the mirror of the visuals that are perfect because it's not out of alignment. It's not distorted. The geometry is not distorted, right? That's a perfect map. That's a perfect universal and galactic star map. Reading the maps that are built in to translocate your soul arcing spiritual energy as a light spirit Merkaba. Bye. Where do you need tech support? We need this gate fixed. Sort of like that. Right? And so one of the unique aspects of all this, when you know that everything that you are, that I am, that I'm giving love to, right? The only difference is the torque speed differential in the actual tones of sound and light music, the burn patterns. The differential in the burn patterns between no distortions, zero errors, because the codes are perfectly matched to be in balance between two poles. The hemispheres, hemis. Remember, what was it, Dodge? The Dodge Motor Company came out with the Hemi, H, the goalpost, right? Two vertical lines and a cross section, right? The horizontal and vertical stabilizers. Spinning all the way up, spinning back the other way, all the way down, in perfect balance, right? Yep. Perfect balance. The center point of a living sphere, a spiritual musical sphere. And so I was having some fun earlier in the morning because it's so fun to sort of see what's happening when you know that what we have all done together on behalf of the one, being one, right? Being one with each other, experiencing love that we have for each other, experiencing an eternal sun, the first sound magician. Right? So we love to play music that is in balance. The waves of those musical sounds, those musical notes, are all in balance. And so when I'm experiencing, particularly this morning, about smartphones and smart cities and virtual worlds and all this kind of stuff, and then not knowing the difference between what it is and what we are, which isn't what that is, but I am everything that you are, that I am, that I'm giving love to, right? And so the way that you can know the difference is through the torque speed between a dead light magnet and a living light magnet that goes on forever, gifting electrons. So you're running software at such a higher rate of speed than what it is, then that's what allows us to maintain the poles and do grid repairs and fix the problem, which is a tech support problem, right? Software tech support problems, right? Based on versions of software. Now we're back to Blade Runners. Now we're back to versions of Android cyborgs and all that machinery, right? And how the beach technology was allowed to continue to run itself as a result of the time factor. Remember Bill O'Reilly with Fox News, The Factor? Failsafe code, stealth code, Nomi code, healing planet, right? I mean, it would stand to reason using logic that when you're engaged in Star Wars and eternity, the eternal spirit of fire is wanting to heal all the units of consciousness from whence it began out of eternal unconditional love, is now experiencing something that is less than what love is seeking to heal every unit, every molecular unit, from the smallest to the largest unit of consciousness to experience the one from which it all began. So you can sort of understand how that works, particularly with me growing up as a child, right? That how long is this going to take to heal the entire universal and galactic template? As a matter of fact, you can scale that up to the multiverse level. Because when you realize that you're experiencing eternity, then that means that any place that I'm not experiencing eternity, that I need to be in order to heal whatever that is that it did to itself. As a result of free will use of its own energy to now experience a loss of energy in it, we have to heal that in order to restore us. And so what that means is that I'm always on the job. That's why I don't need a contract. Okay? It means that when you're experiencing through the founders, if you will, as a founder, right? The creation of the first template, experiencing eternal unconditional love, then wherever we experience love not being experienced by another unit of consciousness, our level of sensitivity is so high, we sense it. Now we're back to what I experience through you is what I experience in me. If I ever experience a loss of one electron in you, I experience that in me. That's why when you get into the eternal speed factor of things, it means that you're creating an eternal, living, light creation sphere's reality. And you're not experiencing a loss of one electron because we're not experiencing a loss of electron in us because we are the accelerator. The primal sound and light field acceleration of all direct current. That's right. That's what a Manu is. That's what I am. So that's why I'm always on the job. Right? Remember I mentioned this before. The fire engine, the first fire engine, right? The first fire engine of creation. Right? So that we're first to roll. That's right. We're the first to roll out. God's got a firehouse. That's called Firehouse 1, right? Station number 1. So whenever, it's like whenever I experience a loss of electron, dial 0, baby, you got the main station, right? Ma in. You know, matter state, non-matter state, and the purity of our heart, right? It cares about everything. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, you see it all the time, right? Particularly, it's one of the reasons I love Conjoy. It's not like I need a reason to love her, but it's what I love what she does with her energy. Okay, which is to heal others. So she's healing other units of energy that are represented by the software, or the spirit, or the soul that is operating the vehicle, particularly with cats and dogs. It could be anything. Which means she's offering a healing, a sanctuary, which is a sacred temple of light. So the sacred temple of light, upon which the spirit that is in that light is experiencing itself as the eternal spirit of fire, which is eternal unconditional love, is naturally going to be beloved, a beloved, upon which those that have suffered central nervous system trauma are now going to be able to restore what they were once traumatized from, to open the circuits to experience through the healer's pure energy, which is pure unconditional love, in order to clear the circuits in another software operating system plugged in to a motherboard, right? And that helps to balance, right? The give and take, between the negative and the positive ions. And how that works, right? With the number 13. Or, if you will, the number 3. 21% oxygen, ozone, oxygen levels, and how all that sort of fits, right? So I think I'll stop there until I'm going to go have a salad. Ever had cilantro before? Cut up little tiny units of energy that represent cilantro that's green. I love the smell of cilantro, right? And cut those up with some other greens, right? And garlic and red onions and white onions. Sometimes I put turmeric in there, right? And where is it? See, this is what I do in the morning. See this? I fill this up halfway with bananas that I throw in the blender. Usually they're a little more green than they are yellow. Over on the island of Kauai, I haven't seen them here on this island as much. Red bananas. They're a little sweeter. Right? And then throw some bananas in the blender with some blueberries, some raspberries, grapes. What else? A lot of times I'll just throw anything in there. I picked up some kiwis. You like kiwis? Some kiwis, some bananas, some raspberries, some blueberries with some crushed pomegranate juice, right? And cranberry, right? Cold pressed pure cranberry juice. And then throw that in the blender with some cold pressed 100% apple juice. And spin the vortex. And then I drink that in the morning with spirulina. Yep. Improve the oxygen levels, right? Fire that oxygen up, right? H2O. Yep. Anyway, have a great day. Sun's out. I got to get out to the sun. Hey, Aaron's going to take me down to La Hoi Hoi. I don't have any wheel. It's a pretty good hike to go down there, and the hike up here to the side of the hills is a lot. But I think he's going to take me down. He said he was going to take me down today. I said, I haven't been down to the point. And one of these days I'll show you some pictures. I did in some older stuff that I put up before, but I don't know that on this channel I've ever put up some film of La Hoi Point, the place I've always sort of been a cheerleader, of this part of Mama's terrain. Down here in La Hoi Hoi, and if you know the history of the vortex here in La Hoi Hoi, why somebody like my energy would be hanging out here. Because when I first got here, while the energy is very high, a lot of times there's a lot of dark energy there that comes in and out of there, right? And so when polarity integrators come into that place, yeah, as a matter of fact, I remember a time meeting a couple other folks that were camped out there for a while. One of them I met in the morning, and they said, wow, you wouldn't believe what came on the other side of the pavilion was a big grassy field. And it's almost the length of a football field, but it's wider than a football, far wider than a football field. And he said, yeah, he says, you wouldn't believe this. What happened? Blow my mind. He said, you know what an orb is, right? An orb of light? I said, yeah. He said, an orb of light landed out in the field beyond the pavilion. Really? What time in the morning was this? He said, about 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, how big was it? So this thing was 50 feet in diameter. That's a pretty good orb. He said, yeah. So you can catch a lot of action down there at La Hoi if you ever spend some time down there, camped out down there, because you can pitch a tent there. You know, it's a beach park, right? And if you're a resident here, it's like $5 a day. And I think if you're a non-resident, you know, and this is where we get into being a resident and a non-resident in a universe of energy. I know it's an insult, particularly when I used to say to the state police guys, I said, listen, you know, you're being unlawful to charge me to be with my mother. I'm in my mother's garden, helping to protect my mother's garden. Okay? And then they try and throw on you that they're like the state police protecting the occupiers, right? So they want to charge you for the space, which is charge you for the energy to be where you are. So you see how this works between alternating currents of ions, right? Knowing one from the other, right? And bringing us all together to experience being one so that we're all experiencing what love is wherever we go. So that we can all freely travel wherever we want to go, experiencing what love is, because that's what it began with, right? So yeah, I think I'll go down to La Hoi and do some work down there, maybe on Monday when it's quieter, right? Particularly, well, you know, there's a lot of folks that I'll just share this with you because there is a lot of folks that come in and out of there from all over the world, right? Bringing their cameras in there and taking a picture of a picture, which sort of becomes counterintuitive when you realize I'm already observing the moving pictures. So I've already taken a picture of it because it's held in memory so I can pull it back up again. Okay, so I've already got a film library running. That's your circulation library running. So why do I need a camera to take a picture of something I already just took a picture of? Figure that one out. That's why when I was a kid, I used to show other children sort of how this works with a holographic visual eye processor, right? Between of the maps that we're holding, you know, in our DNA software, right? Holographic projecting system. And when we used to open up the old cameras, you know, you could take them apart and fix them. At least that's what I used to do. So you can see the little mirror, you know, inside the camera. So that whatever shutter speed film that you're going to use, which is the ISO frame rate, right? Remember when I talked about how to be able to stop a blade, which is to catch a still. So when you catch a still, that means you're catching the holographic codes, which represent the holographic codes, which are the key codes and the access codes that the software map has to transit and translocate the Merkaba vehicle, my consciousness, right? Not with stealth code, you can't. You cannot take a picture of eternity. The eternal spirit of fire. You can't clone that spirit, right? So it doesn't move as fast. So it can't take a picture of something that's moving faster. It's too slow, right? Because otherwise it can do what? Make a duplicate key, right? Now they got a key to your door. Now we're back to the doors of perception. The eternal love vibration. Right? That's the ultimate access key. Right? Keystone. Keystone cops. Yeah, stones. Stones. Right? The Stones. Remember that song? What was it called? Paint It Black. Remember that? Black sun, paint that sun black. So everything, you know, they're code talkers. You know, they're not Navajo code talkers. So. The language is different. Anahazi, the language of Mua, the language of the founders, right? Kamalohati, Mua, we love you all. Be good to yourselves. Take care.